Guys, the last video was a bit depressing. We were really focused on how life continuously throws us low balls, but from this point on we are focused on the highs. Nothing but good vibes from here on out. So let's get into my honorable mentions for this year. Atlanta Season 3 lies in a weird spot for me, as pretty much everything that we got with the main crew aside from the final episode of the season really hit. But the anthology episodes were all hit or miss for me. The surrealism Atlanta is known for I found to be refreshing throughout the entire season, and objectively Glover and co reached a technical brilliance here. From the stellar first episode, the way everything is put together proved that the showmakers did not stagnate in their ability to film and present situations that make their audience think. It just so happened that like 20% of the content and plot beats were lacking in my eyes. As time has gone by, Peacemaker hasn't stuck with me as expected, but at the moment it was a fun watch. John Cena is perfect for this role, and James Gunn knows what he is doing when it comes to a quirky group of superpowered individuals. I'm kinda cheating here, as My Hero Academia Season 6 is only halfway through its 2-core run, but boy has the show amped up. The last few seasons were all building up to what is currently happening, and the storyline, fight choreography, and animation is not disappointing. What I would say is the manga's best run. Spy Family is just such a lovable show. Throughout the year it has often been the 25 minutes of relaxing fun I'm looking forward to, and it never disappoints. But don't take this as meaning that is all the show is. There is a lot of unique storytelling and nice animation to accompany it. If you're looking for a nice comfort watch, I would highly recommend Spy Family, even if you don't like anime like that. Once again, top tier year for music, and my honorable mentions are in order from which I think is the worst of the bunch to the best. Midnights is a project that I personally overhyped for myself in the moment, but that takes nothing away from what Taylor accomplishes with it. While she isn't exploring any new ground thematically, she has a much more interesting sound in Midnights, and it's a nice little side quest while she focuses on obtaining her masters. Brent Faiyaz's Wasteland presents some of my favorite tracks from the artist's entire career, but it is overbloated, a downgrade from F the World in my opinion. Forest in the City is Umi's most complete and consistent project yet, with some of her best tracks she has produced in her short career. I'm very excited to see where she goes from here. Similarly, Beyonce's Renaissance contains some of my favorite tracks from the pop icon that I've heard since Lemonade. Not as whole of a project as I would expect it to be, but the bangers that we get make up for that. The Car provides us with a completely new sound from one of my favorite bands of all time. I would be lying to say I would want another album like The Car, but at the same time the project that we got is sonically engaging while featuring Alex Turner continuing to do his thing as the lead vocalist. More black superheroes shows Westside Gunn getting better and better in every facet of the game. From the production to the lyricism, Gunn is making an even bigger name for himself and is on track to enter a higher tier in the near future. Listen, I understood nothing of what was said on Marchita, but Silvana Estrada made me feel purely through her voice in the accompanying instrumentals, which I think means something. As purely an album, Intergalactic doesn't work all that well, but it's not just an album, it's a soundtrack meant to be experienced with the film, and boy does it work as that, so I will elaborate on this one in the near future. This is a weird one, as I also had Black Country New Roads Ants from up there in my most disappointing list, but as I said, I expected a lot from this album and got a bit below that. For many this is the album of the year, but for me it's just another cool listen. Maybe I'll regret this take a year from now, but for now it is an honorable mention. God Don't Make Mistakes by Conway the Machine contains some of my favorite tracks of the year and some top tier lyricism. Heroes and Villains is an absolute banger of an album. The second half is almost perfect in my eyes, but the first few songs just doesn't do it for me aside from superheroes. Joey Badass's 2000 accompanies a similar realm to God Don't Make Mistakes. Some of my favorite tracks of the year, Survivors Guild, Zip Codes, and Brand New 911 being true highlights, but as a whole the album could have been much more cohesive. Rina Sawayama's Hold the Girl is a versatile and thoroughly enjoyable pop album. Truthfully, I just haven't sat with it as long as some of the albums ahead of it. And finally, Mitski's Laurel Hill is short and sweet. It just so happens to occupy much of the same area that Hold the Girl does in terms of the amount of time I've sat with it being shorter than most of my albums on my end of the year list. Still though, it was one of the more soothing listening experiences I've had all year, and I can't wait to go deeper into Mitski's discography. Zach Kreger's Barbarian is a truly interesting case as the first 45 minutes are perfectly executed. Some of the scariest and most thrilling stuff of the year, but after we cut away from a certain reveal and enter a sub-story, the story slows down quite a bit in my eyes. It is never bad, but it never reaches the heights that the first half set. Todd Field's Tar is another weird one as I am of two parts in regards to it. In essence, my mind is telling me yes, but my body is telling me no. I have no true technical critiques here, but as I watched the film, I just couldn't get into it like I felt I should have been. Beyond the first two scenes, I rarely found myself to be invested in learning more about the central character of the film, and while this might sound bad, the first two scenes are combined for like 30 or 40 minutes, so don't worry about that. But I still can't say that the character isn't interesting, even though I wasn't interested in learning more about the character for the last 2 hours or so. Maybe next time I'll take Tar the way that my brain is telling me that I should. After Yang is a wholly new take on the science fiction genre and a compelling look at artificial intelligence, slowly paced and beautifully acted throughout. I just wish that there was more to chew on. Elvis is a conventional biopic told through an unrelenting Elvis-esque tone. A lot of people have hated Tom Hanks in this. I personally think he is fine, but undoubtedly overshadowed by Austin Butler's performance. I think it is worthy of an Oscar nod, but I have my doubts that it will get it. In Apollo 10.5, Linklater portrays childhood wonder and nostalgia so well. The animation and storytelling perfectly matches these portrayals, and the voice acting is impeccable. It hasn't stuck with me the way I expected it would though. The unbearable weight of massive talent was a great theater watch. Funny, well-paced, and well-acted. A fairly conventional plot with a lot of the fun coming from our collective love of Nicolas Cage. Dog is one of the 3 or 4 movies from this year that truly exceeded my expectations. Admittedly though, I did expect Dog to be a very mediocre movie that would shove its politics in our face. Instead, Dog is a top-tier comfort watch with some unexpected tension and not much politics. A great buddy comedy that leaves you happy when it's done. Aside from literally everything in the movie that was set up for another Marvel product, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever was a great follow-up to the original film, handling Chadwick Boseman's passing well, introducing us to another top 5 MCU villain, and providing a satisfying, interesting, and complete primary plot. On the Count of 3 is a solid indie about 2 homies that just really want to die and one figuring out that there are some things that make life worth it. Nope is one that I just need to rewatch, as with many of Peele's movies. For both Us and Nope, on a first watch I was just in a space of respect. I had my gripes, but I was also riveted and trusted in Peele enough so that a rewatch would reward me. In the case of Us, that trust didn't work out so well, and for Nope I am still yet to see. Marcel the Shell with Shoes On is literally about a shell with shoes on. There isn't much to say about this, as if that title interests you, you'll like this movie, and if it doesn't, don't bother. It is literally a movie about a shell with shoes on. Top Gun Maverick did its thing as a summer blockbuster, one of the best we have gotten in a while, and I'm gonna take nothing away from it as the product that it is. Finally, Intergalactic is the rom-com of the year. Cuddy's soundtrack perfectly embodied the love story, and the animation supplemented both really nicely. And that is it for my honorable mentions of 2022. Next up will be my top 6 TV shows of this year, followed by my albums of the year, and then we have a little bit of a surprise after that. Stay tuned for List Week, and I'll see you guys in the next one.